Thank you, Sartell American Legion, Post 277, as well as Congressman O'Driscoll for inviting me today. As introduced, I am the founder and president of Abiding Bronze Star, an emerging nonprofit for veterans, soldiers, and their families. Abiding Bronze Star came to be because of one veteran very special to me, my grandfather. In the fall of 2014, my senior year of high school, a teacher introduced to me the VFW's Voice of Democracy audio essay scholarship competition. The prompt was, why veterans are important to our nation's history and future, and I knew just the man I was going to interview. I had always known my grandfather was a veteran who had served in the Army in Vietnam, but this was the extent of my knowledge. I soon learned that the man I had seen as a humble, kind grandfather also had another identity in its entirety as a hero. I learned that my grandfather was an infantryman in the 25th Division Tropic Lightning 27th Infantry Wolfhounds. He volunteered his draft number at just 17 years old and was promoted from private to Sergeant E5 in just 16 months, a very short promotion time. He served a full 10 months in country in the Cu Chi area of operations in Vietnam from January through October of 1966. He was one of 4 men in his 33-man platoon to return to the United States without being killed or injured. I learned that my grandfather, Sergeant Kaufman, saved multiple men's lives, including helping to carry one man out of the jungle while under fire in a night ambush. When I heard this amazing story, I asked if he was going to receive some kind of medal or honor for his service, and he said he was supposed to receive the Bronze Star for meritorious service, but the paperwork was lost in the return to the United States, and with the death of his nominator, his platoon sergeant, he never received this award. My grandfather's story inspired and amazed me, exposing an identity as a soldier he hadn't previously shared much in depth with his family. I was impassioned by the story, but I didn't like the end of it, so I decided to change it. I decided that I would reclaim the Bronze Star for him. I led and organized my grandfather's case, logging over 350 hours over a year and a half, doing research and contacting different politicians, military officials, and government organizations and agencies across the nation. And I worked most extensively through Congressman Everett's office, who's here today. I worked in 5 time zones from DC to Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, where my grandfather did his AIT. And during this journey, I saw my grandfather begin to hope for his Bronze Star again, and he was finally sharing his experiences, remembering those he lost in combat. There is nothing more rewarding than allowing someone the opportunity to heal. And for all the veterans and soldiers here today, I would encourage you to share your stories with your families. Tell your families about those you lost, honoring them by remembering. The Bronze Star is awarded for acts of heroism and meritorious service in a combat zone, and my grandfather was officially found to have exhibited these characteristics to the highest degree. So after a long year and a half, my grandfather's Bronze Star was ultimately presented to him, approved by the Awards and Decorations Board of the Human Resources Command at Fort Knox, Kentucky. We found out a week before Christmas, and we awarded it almost 50 years to the day of his deployment on January 22nd, 2016. My grandfather calls me his Bronze Star, but he is mine. He is here today, and I would love for him to stand. After receiving the Bronze Star, Abiding Bronze Star was born. Abiding Bronze Star is a nonprofit with the goal of helping veterans, soldiers, and their families reclaim the military records, paperwork, medals, honors, and moreover, recognition they are due for their service. We are currently processing to obtain a 501c3 status and expect to by the end of this year. We have a fiscal sponsorship through the Fargo-Moorhead Area Foundation, an official 501c3 that processes our donations as tax deductible and is keeping donation records until we obtain our status. If there are any veterans, soldiers, or family members here today who are seeking military records, medals, or honors, please utilize Abiding Bronze Star to help you reclaim the recognition you are due. I'll be here after with cards if you want more information. Throughout the last 2 years, I have met countless incredible veterans and soldiers, and I have found that humility is the most common underlying characteristic among them all. So often our veterans and soldiers are too humble to ask for what they are due, but I can assure you that receiving your due recognition only increases the power and impact of your stories, building patriotism and respect for our veterans and soldiers in every person's life that they touch. After hearing my grandfather's story, I decided to serve myself. I enlisted with the North Dakota Army National Guard and will be contracting as a cadet with NDSU's ROTC program this coming fall. Veterans, please share your stories. Your stories inspire and motivate soldiers of the present and future, and we want to preserve and strengthen the great legacy of freedom you have protected. Freedom is not free, and someone has to pay the price for it. Often this price is the losses and both physical and mental pain for our veterans and soldiers which they experience. History is made by those who stand up. Thank you, veterans and soldiers, for stepping up to write the history you want the United States to have. Thank you to all who have served, and we remember today those we have lost. For all of the veterans, soldiers, and your families here today, thank you for your patriotism and undying dedication to our nation. Thank you.